worry, the house always wins.
Time for the fireworks.
Enough playing with our food.
I need nothing to win.
Physical kill.
I am the hunter!
Wherever they run, I will find them.
Woo, we got this.
Stand in my way.
We good? We good?
Entrada e vem evitar Cruzeira. Bem posicionado, estraga prazeres evitável. They played safe on this. He gets one.
Tanet düşürecek dedim ya encontrando la baja de Cicli, quieren tomar por baño, pero lo sorprenden desde la...
But he's all alone, gets another, and there it is!
One enemy
Very close. Oh, Asano!
Welcome on in, folks. It is day 2 here for VALORANT Challengers, and the VCT is about to pop off because today we are going to be deciding the first 8 teams into the close qualifiers. My name is Upmind, joined here by Sully, and let's talk about the format a little bit because things have gotten a little bit more chaotic, Sully.
Yeah, well, in day 2, like you said, Gus, we figured out which teams will be advancing to the close qualifiers. We've got 32 teams left here in day number 2. And, well, it's the first open qualifier of many. We've got 3 regional North American Open qualifiers, all advancing to a close qualifier, whereas in this one, only the top 4 from this close qualifier will advance to the second close qualifier. Now, I understand that's a little bit complicated. Maybe I didn't make any sense at all. I've got a periodic table in my background, but I'm still not that smart. So how about we run you through with a quick video detailing everything you need to know.
Welcome to the VALORANT Champions Tour, a year-long tournament circuit featuring the best players and teams from all over the world, culminating in a global championship event, VALORANT Champions. Each stage begins with challengers, where teams compete in regional tournaments for a place at Masters. Teams who compete in Masters events will earn points that help them qualify for Champions. And Champions is where the best teams from around the world compete on a global stage, where the art of greatness is on full display. And one team will be crowned 2021 VALORANT Champions.
You heard it, folks. This week has a whole lot of ramifications going into the future, so at least let's run down the schedule. Of course, yesterday we had the first 2 rounds, the round of 28 and the round of 64 go down, but today, with the round of 16 happening in our second block, we do have 8 teams coming out of that into the quarterfinals tomorrow that will already be decided into the closed. Of course, the open qualifiers needs a champion, so we will have more action coming up in the next couple of days, with tomorrow having quarterfinals, with 2 games being streamed here on the mainstream. Saturday, of course, the semis and the grand finals on Sunday. Sully, the format, of course, is, like I mentioned before, getting a little bit chaotic, but it's as fun as you can get because Challengers number 1 is really where we can see some of the kind of the more medium-ish teams, maybe even you could call them tier 2, actually start to rise to the top a little bit.
Yeah, yesterday it was kind of a mosh pit of teams trying to make it through to day 2. And well, like you said, guys, it was very chaotic. A lot of teams had some pretty big results. I think yesterday the biggest one to note was the fact that Spotlight took a map of 100 Thieves. But that's just one of the few things. Let's focus on the present now, and let's focus up on our matchup. We have got a banger lined up here on stream. It's Complexity versus Equinox, 2 teams that are currently 4-0 in their bracket run. So they are looking sharp as ever, but only one of them, unfortunately, get to advance to make it to round of 16.
It's a tough matchup because really both of these teams have been struggling to make their way, to solidify into that tier 1 spot. Complexity, they started off super early on into beta, and that's one of the things, not into beta, but into the game period. I mean, that's really one of the things that differentiates Complexity from really every other team, is what would be considered synergy. This team has been here for a while and have only made really one real player change. I mean, in fact, the player that ended up leaving Complexity back in like September, he actually beat Ninja's Time In round number 1. So Time In already eliminated from the tournament. But I at least want to talk about Equinox. This past month has been really important for them in terms of their development. They got a new player in terms of Tex. I mean, Tex hasn't really been on an organization in a sense, but this guy has always been an insane individual fragger, and his stats have always shown it.
Yeah, I mean, we can take a quick look at the lineup. I mean, you mentioned Tex. I mean, he dropped an insane amount of frags. I think he went 73, positive plus 20 over the 4 maps that they played yesterday. I could be wrong in his kill differential, but let's just get it straight. He was nuts. Cute Fat Boy as well looked amazing. They had a slight agent composition change on the side of Equinox, where Cute Fat Boy and Pancakes, apologies, ended up switching. So now Pancakes, I think, is running the Cypher. Cute Fat Boy now on the Omen, and Cute Fat Boy on the Omen is unstoppable. 77 kills, topping over Tex's performance across the 4 maps they played yesterday. I mean, we speak about Equinox, they look good, but on the side of Complexity, it was Sharky that popped off as well. He himself had a stellar game with 80 kills across the 4 maps, and then not to mention the supporting role of AGM on a Killjoy at a 77% entry success rate. So, I mean, on both sides, we have got fire on fire. There is so much firepower between these 10 players, and I'm super excited to see how it goes down in the server today.
I'm excited to really see Complexity back, period, because they've been more or less a team that have kind of taken a break from tournaments, or either that they haven't made it as far enough to really get more public recognition in a sense. Really over towards Winter Championships that happened last week is when they actually started to build up a little bit of steam and a little bit of momentum. But Sully, it's all about Equinox in terms of when we talk about how this team has developed better and better results.
Yeah.
But they've also stagnated. 3rd place placements. They have 3 of them in this past month.
Yeah, 3 in a row. It is, I would say, heartbreak for this team. I mean, they've, again, like you said, progressively been getting better and better. KBC, we saw the Complexity event, and just recently the Winter Champs. Now, on all of those 3rd place finishes, they always had a strong map pool. So let's take a look at what the map pool is for here in this matchup and see maybe if it leans favor towards them. Who knows? So let's take a quick look. Haven being our first map, Ascent being our second, and Split coming to round us all off to be our 3rd. The map pool just initially looks really good for Equinox.
Oh, it looks great for Equinox. Statistically speaking, of course, you have Bind getting taken away by Complexity. It is a little bit of a counter pick for them, and they are a little bit more comfortable on it, but Bind is their most powerful map. So Complexity taking that out of the pool, more than efficient. Icebox, of course, that is just would be a permaban for Equinox. They haven't played it in almost 2 months, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. But then we actually start to go into the map picks. Complexity going into Haven. It's a little bit more weirder of an opportunity for them. They only have a 44% win rate on that map, but then you move over to Ascent. Ascent has been played so many times by Equinox in the past 2 months, and it's the same thing with Split. It just so happens to be that Ascent is usually the map that Equinox ends up picking, and Split, I mean, everyone picks Split against Equinox. I don't know what it is, but that also just leads into the fact that Equinox has a whole lot of experience on this map.
Yeah, I mean, Equinox have played, I would say, against some of the best teams in North America at the moment. I mean, recently in the Winter Champs, they played against Anbox, Cloud9, and LG. They looked really good on every single game that they played on Split. So Equinox, they're no strangers to Split. But I want to dive deeper into maybe the Complexity side. Now, we mentioned that they haven't played in quite some time, and that maybe their events, in comparison to Equinox, haven't been as recent. So diving deeper into the map pool, I mean, Complexity, it's been quite some time since they last played these maps. Haven being our first map, they've only played this a handful of times, 3 times in the past month. So it already off the bat, when you think about a Complexity, they maybe or may not have been around the scene in terms of competing in tournaments and events like Equinox. But right. I mean, all this time off the server, there is so much unpredictability that could give Complexity a slight edge over Equinox.
I mean, potentially so, with Haven yesterday actually being picked out by Complexity against Demon Time. That game ended up going super close, Sully. I mean, it went to overtime. Complexity was almost in that position that we mentioned before, where they were about to get upset. 14-12 at the end of things, but they survived it. But ladies and gentlemen, finally it is time to start off the round of 32. Complexity on the defensive side, Equinox on the attacking side. We're live on Haven.
Right, and already just off the bat, Equinox, they're storming out towards long. That alarm bot was the biggest threat. A beautiful flash from Ohai, a surprise attack on Equinox and Complexity. They aren't able to deal with it accordingly. They actually go down a man here in this situation, Gus.
It was a decent counter setup, but Complexity really putting all of their eggs into one basket doesn't exactly work out in their favor. So now a 3-4 retake, and at least in terms of the individual fragging, we talked about Sharky a little bit. He wants to stay in that front line, and he ended up using out most of his cash into this round to really go into util, so he definitely has to be that first contact, as the rest of Complexity still lays around the A main area. In they actually go. The cage is up. DXN still waiting out for an opportunity, but beaming through the cage. It's actually Cute Fat Boy getting his targets, and not only that, but XP3, Sharky, no chance. Equinox, they open it up with 3 men surviving in a dub to open up the game.
Yeah, you saw, I guess, the ramifications of that peak from long, a surprise attack, if you will, but surprise, it's against 4 players from Equinox. So, at least in that situation, Complexity, we're going to get a 2-2 trade more than likely. And unfortunately, it didn't even go that way. They lost 2 players, Equinox only losing 1. Now, this second round, though, surprisingly, Complexity, they're the ones going for a full buy against Equinox. I mean, Equinox here, Pancakes is heavily invested into a Bulldog, but Complexity, they're going all into this round. Marshall, Sheriff, and a couple of Singers to accommodate them. We'll see how they play this round on out here, as already, just off the bat, it looks like a little bit of aggression down towards C Long with an early peek from Sharky.
This is where things can really get tricky for Equinox, because next round would be more or less their bonus, no matter really what would happen, especially if Complexity actually had the pistols. But now at this point, Complexity, they might end up messing up their entire timeline. Their economy gets restricted to just about 2k credits if they end up losing out this round, leading them, I mean, essentially forcing them to go down to the pistols. So I guess buying out would still be good for their momentum and to really shut down Equinox and whatever chance they might have. But Jonah P wasting out actually 3 bullets from that Marshall trying to take down the Owl drone, but no wide peaks from Equinox yet. It's very neutral hold, or really just empty pressure.
Yeah, it is actually really passive from Equinox. I mean, we saw Lear go out as well towards C Long. Sharky didn't reveal his position by taking it down, but they know Jonah P was here from the get-go. Brings off a Marshall shot. Now, with all of this going on, Complexity, they haven't really made any moves. They've just got information. Sharky is playing a very close angle with the Stinger, and this could actually be very deadly, but a great flash from Tex. He doesn't check his corner. Sharky's not able to dash away, but reinforcements are here. But they do know where he is, waiting on the site. Sharky's still able to find a second. They will flush him out, but reinforcements are here, like I said, and XP3 is just trying to hold it down in the back of sight.
1 HP, and he's still able to at least hold down the line. DXN with 1 back onto AGM, but DXN, 49 HP, nothing but a Stinger and a Ghost and a Hope, so goes for the wide swing, but Jonah P with a couple of right clicks is going to finish off the round. Let's wrap things all the way back from the beginning, Sully, because that initial hold was really what gave Complexity that round. Just the faster rotations is what still ended up giving them the trades.
Yeah, it's Complexity playing 1 player towards each extremity, 1 player Sharky towards C Long, Jonah P playing in A sewers, and a slight turret, or a slight advantage, if you will, on the A site in the form of a Killjoy turret. But Complexity, like, you're 100% right, they had fast rotations, 3 players grouped around towards garage and B main area, so the rotations were going to always be super, super quick. But I also give a little bit of fault to Equinox. They didn't play aggressive, they didn't get map control, they kind of waited and watched. And Complexity, they had basically all the info, and like you said, those rotations, they were huge. Now, moving into this round, Equinox, they're going to try and buy back. They do allow themselves enough credits to allow them a buy here in the event that Complexity did end up beating them. And with Complexity's win there, they'll be rolling in the credits for now. But if they can win this round, then it becomes their bonus. And then Equinox might be in a little bit of economic turmoil.
Really, both of these teams are aiming to more or less reset the others. So lots of ramifications going forward. Really, both Complexity and Equinox. This score could turn from 1-1 to 3-1 for really both of these sides in a flash. And we go over towards the A side. No person up in short this time. It is going to be just AGM on the first contact up in heaven. Smoke up, and you still have 1 under. If I'm not mistaken, might be XP3 on the rotation back, but they're going for a full retake setup, Sully.
Yeah, AGM is just going to be playing contact. He had Nanostorms at the B site just in case. Only a single turret here. Can he get a couple of tags? Yes, he can. AGM, good for the first, but with that kill, things slowed down. Smokes will be dropped here by the side of Complexity, and even a Hunter's Fury invested to try and flush the players out of A connector. But Equinox, how do they hold down the site? Mina's alone here, but Pancake's there to support. AGM is good for 1, and Pancake's underneath heaven, able to spot at XP3. They didn't know where he was, but Pancakes knew where everyone else was. Equinox take up a second round. Now we go back to a flip-flop where, like you said, it could be easily 3-1 either side, and based on it, Equinox, here is their bonus moving into the next.
Again, just pure chaos. You wouldn't expect, of course, the Hunter's Fury to come out in round number 3, but it's just a mixture of really decent fragging from DXN in the last few rounds. Essentially a couple of bonuses, but not only that, but the ult orb really just going his way every time.
Yeah.
So still going forward, the rifles, you would consider it a bonus considering the fact that Equinox still has most of the firepower that they had into the last round. A little bit of reinvestment, but it's really going to come down to complexity and how they treat this round. It's a little bit more aggressive. They have that short hold, which they didn't have last round, and Equinox eventually ended up taking advantage of it. And double mid control. That's a little bit weird for complexity, but it might work out in their favor for some initial frags.
Yeah, Jonah P creeping around. He's got a sheriff. Actually, they both have sheriffs, but again, Equinox, it's in rounds like this where they're up against an eco. They like to play very, very slow. Now, one thing to note going into this one, complexity, they do have a Killjoy ultimate. That lockdown could be big if they want to attempt to retake, but that's all if they can get a couple of kills. They do have the Bladestorm out at least for Sharky. Mina's looking to create a lot of space in the back line. Spike will be going down here. Complexity, it will be a 5-on-5. That dart gives so much information, and Jonah P tries to capitalize on it, but Bladestorm's out for both sides. Now Sharky has used his, and now the spike goes down, so Equinox are looking to back away and keep as many players alive as possible.
With no first contact and long, that would have been Complexity's really their best hope going into this round, at least trying to hold things back, delay time for Equinox to even make their way on site, but really nothing of the sorts. With full real estate of sight, Equinox, they can just focus down on the choke points, and Complexity, they don't exactly have the firepower to fight back. So if anything, a couple of exit frags here and there might be the most that they can garner, and indeed XP3 are still going for a couple. Gets one. Let's keep Fatboy at the very end with the dagger. 3-1 scoreline, but Complexity, they have the buy back. And some ultimates are developing. This might be a little bit better for the early holds, but I'm looking for a couple of combos, which Complexity, they haven't been too great at the very beginning of rounds or at the very beginning of takes of really working together and holding things off. They're going for hard retakes.
Yeah, it does really feel like that, and it's the same thing on the A side at least. I don't know if Equinox are reading into this now, and it does look like they're going to at least attempt it. I think the Exen has got something cooked up for us with that Odin, but who knows. You mentioned those ultimates, but at least for now, no one's going to be going for them. Jonah P stuck in garage, an early cage to deny him info. And Equinox, EXN's recon vault going out. So they'll be able to take free space up towards long. Or again, you mentioned playing those retakes. Complexity, they do have a lockdown. So I guess that's a good reason for it on the A site. They'll probably drop that in heaven or just outside of A connected to force players back. This gets a little bit dicey because Equinox, they know they're going to have to make a dash forward in AGM. He's already got it charged up. It should be a free plant. Once Equinox get the spike down, then that, I think, lockdown will now be initiated as soon as the spike is planted. But it's taking a little bit of time here for Equinox.
Absolutely. Things are about to get chaotic. AGM ready for that lockdown. And indeed, it'll go down. Really, the post-plant positions are all going to get discombobulated. You're going to see a couple of players go back over towards long, but interestingly enough, still 3 over towards short, and they're just going to be stuck outside of long. Nobody from Complexity has actually gone over towards that position, so again, that's big to restrict the early frags, but it's a whole lot more work to do. Spike getting diffused. Smoke going up. A little bit of a dismiss. Spike has actually gone up. Tex with a double. Pancakes with more. AGM on the front lines, waiting for a couple of players to go through. Doesn't happen. Cube Fatboy cleans things up, and Equinox, I mean, it really came down to Complexity there and their control. Double smoke back towards the choke points of short and long, and that simply just wasn't enough. Equinox, they hold back the line, and quite a few players survive at the end.
Yeah, it got really, really hectic for Equinox. It felt like it was just players spraying through smokes. Sharky came out of nowhere, dashing through the smoke, trying to find something. But now Complexity, it's back to pistols. And Equinox, that was essentially their bonus because of the weird economic situation we've been put in and the reversal from Equinox in that third round. So this is technically now, I guess, a secondary bonus because they have won the round. They pick up the rifles from the previous that Complexity ended up buying. So this is a good look for Equinox moving forward. Economically, they are going to be extremely sound. Sharky's got to dash away. Well, Equinox, it does look like they're going to slow things down. They've already pushed off the Shark. Now they're looking for frags elsewhere. Jonah P, only good for one. AGM maybe looking for a trade. But Equinox, they do appear to have things in control. However, Complexity have gone aggressive. And AGM find himself in a good position to at least maybe get a couple of exit frags or eco frags. The Sheriff had it not been for Tex.
Yeah, that's huge from Tex. AGM, he was essentially waiting out all that information back over towards C. Information has been communicated back. There's 2 players in the back lines and a big paranoia, but oh, Mina.
Okay.
Not gonna be able to get the frag, so instead, fully flashed XP3. Shooting into the dark, gets one back. Still 5 HP for him. Won't exactly be able to interact all too much. Potentially depend on a couple of headshots or really just exit frags in general. But yeah, Equinox, this is yet another one under their belts. Complexity, they haven't had any real chance going into this one, especially because Equinox, I love the pathing that they're taking. It's a lot of early control in a sense, or just early communication, where it's just trying to get maybe a couple of picks or just spreading false information to Complexity. But always there's going to be one person for Equinox at around that C area, not exactly making noise, but just doing all of the scouting possible. Complexity, they end up falling for what would be the stereotype for pistol rounds and just going for hard gamble rotates and essentially just trying to stack up their squad to just hold down the line. Equinox, they've been doing a good job of really messing up that entire format. And going into this round, I don't think we're going to see too much of that, as of course we have the rifles back. But this is yet another one of those weird holes to be one fast rotate C in Garage, and of course the solo Killjoy up in A.
Now, one thing to note is that Mina's actually decided to go for an operator. This isn't something too common on the attacking side of Haven, but Mina has been very, very sharp on the operator. So I'll be looking down towards sewers. Doesn't see anything just yet now. Equinox, in rifle rounds, they're accommodating for aggression that Complexity show very, very diligently in their eco rounds. So they're expecting something. We don't get anything just yet. Sharky playing the spot out towards C long. Nothing really major happening. However, Complexity, with this kind of weird passive style in these buy rounds, Equinox are starting to take note of it. They'll start to move their way on up. The B site does look very, very enticing for them. Again, they have that in the back of their mind that the A site's always going to be the retake site for them. However, in the favor of Complexity, they do have a run it back that can be very, very crucial on retaking this B site when things get very hectic and up in close quarters. Site will be taken now. Jonah P isn't going to commit. He'll try and get maybe a couple of frags. He actually might go for the swing, but almost gets exposed himself. XB3 for the swing, and Mina puts him down. The retake is on here, Gus.
The retake is on, but they're still staying a little bit more conservative in a sense. You still have Mina over towards mid, watching out for the picks. Complexity, again, empty pressure, not actually interacting with Equinox straight onto these choke points, and instead waiting out their time, waiting for them to get into their own enemy lines, and that's how they pick them off. Equinox, they get a little bit too ballsy, but in the end, Complexity, they get themselves a second with 4 players surviving. That's big for their economy going forward.
Yeah, big play as well from Ohai on that run it back. They didn't expect him to re-peek, especially with a second person, Sharky right behind him. Equinox, Mina investing to that operator will not have enough credits to suffice another one. So Complexity, Sharky will pick up the operator from Mina's body. 5-2, not too bad at the moment for Complexity. Sharky will take the operator down towards A long. This could be a very early engagement. Mina will drop a smoke, presumably, try and get his or allow his teammates to cross. DXN will be looking for the info to force Sharky out of the position. So early on, Complexity, they are vying for early map control, but Sharky, this recon bolt's going to expose you. Yep, there it is. Mina crossing out towards long. Info again. There is a slow play down towards mid that Jonah P might not be ready for here.
This has been a very stereotypical Haven game in a sense, and very stereotypical setups.
Yeah.
In a sense, Equinox going for what is the tried and true for a lot of things, and even these early short setups. I mean,
wow,
Equinox just, I guess you could say early util just to clear up the long area. It's what we've seen for a while, but now they start to spread out a little bit over throughout the map. And Double B, no spike, just trying to take away control from that A site. Indeed, it works, but it's at the expense of 2 players. But not only that, but another frag deep into the A site. Sharky is on another one. Already has a couple of frags for his name. Jonah P with another one. Now it's just down to DXN in a 1v5, and Jonah P with a third. That's just Complexity winning that one out in a flash as Equinox, they tried to switch up their approach.
Yeah, I mean, you get the idea that Equinox were going for, right? We're going to try and get control of B, cut off as many rotations as possible. So it's a lot harder for Complexity to quickly rotate from the C site back to A. And the idea is there for Equinox, but Complexity, they completely shut it down with some nice shots from Sharky. Him on the operator, finding one through the wall on the A connector to B. Beautiful, beautiful shots in Complexity. It's a pretty nice start of a comeback, if you will. There's the shot again from Sharky again. The idea is there for Equinox, but Sharky, he puts a swift end to any nuances that Equinox is going to try and throw at them.
Going into this next round, Equinox, well, their economy is just in shambles. I mean, if they end up losing out this one, this gives Complexity a clear opportunity to really make their way back. Good dash up, and not only that, but XP3 in such an off angle, throws out the paranoia, but Tex, although he gets hit, is still there, and what a reaction! Sharky up top, still Not able to get the frag, but of course Jonah P. they're at it for the trade. Equinox, they've done it again. Instead of it being the B flank in a sense, or the B information, they go all the way over towards C. Complexity, they go very reactionary, and they rotate all the way away. And Equinox, the 3 players, they remain, and they're there with the control. But that control is about to go down in pieces. The lockdown is up. And not only that, but this time it's a little bit more different because Jonah P this time is here on the flank and could be massive. He goes right into the lockdown. He catches down Cute Fat Boy. Couple of players over towards long. Gets himself a third. Make it a fourth. Jonah P on his lonesome on the flank. Makes it count. Complexity with a 4th round.
Huge play from Jonah P. I don't know if you caught that, but he jumps over the tripwire thrown by Pancakes. I mean, that's the one thing that decides that round. If Jonah P gets detected, Cute Fat Boy isn't running with his knife out. They're not ready for him whatsoever. So huge play and a little bit of a misstep from Cute Fat Boy in the tripwire. Jonah P completely aware of it. Here's the replay. Jonah P obviously with this amazing 4K. And there's where he catches Cute Fat Boy completely off guard. Equinox, they were not ready for this flank whatsoever. Now Equinox, with these rounds that have been strung together by Complexity, it was an early setup where it felt like Equinox were in full control economically, but now in this one, they're going to be a little bit worse aware. And a very early Hunter Seer coming out. Can he get any tags? Sharky looking deep into sewers, not quick enough on the flick, but he does get a tag on attacks. Not a kill, but a lot of damage done. And there are 3-player stacked here, Gus. Equinox are walking into a stack and they don't even know it.
So much pressure back towards the A side, and that's again something that Complexity they've been hinting at for a while. There you go, Jonah P. That's just easy for him. The 1-2 combo. AGM and Sharky also here for a couple of frags, but even then, Spike being down in shorts, and really CFB Cute Fat Boy would have to make his way right through A with a 1v5. XB3 shuts it down early, and like I mentioned before, that scoreline from the 3 to 5, well, it was just bound to go to 5 to 5. Equinox, however, they still can't buy out. Their investment last round was a little bit too steep, so we're still going to see a couple of pistols. In Complexity, they don't seem like they're stopping at all with this close choke point holds.
Yeah, the defense from Complexity has been great. A really great understanding of the map control that Equinox have been looking for and trying to adjust accordingly. Jonah P, this could tear them to shreds. It actually doesn't do anything to Equinox. They hear the Odin and they're like, we don't want a piece of that. They see the bolts coming in as well, and yeah, no risk, no chance they're gonna peek into that one. But like you said, Equinox, no real guns for them. So this round is, I feel like a give me, we say for in most scenarios, but you never know with the pistols that they've got. XP3, put the deal with 2, however, that could put a quick end to any nuances again that Equinox are trying to throw their way.
Just an easy bet, but how many times will Equinox pull this off? Early attention on one side of the map and full ace up. But that's the thing, right? Complexity, they've been almost perfect off these retakes thus far, especially on this A side. I think only one of them has failed thus far out of 3 or 4. And, well, AGM still individually fragging out himself. And Pancakes, he tries to help out, tries to get a couple, but it's really not going to work out in his favor. 6 to 5 scoreline. Complexity going into the last round in the half with at least a little bit more momentum, but I don't really know what Equinox is going to switch up their approach to, because they've been going around the same formula in a sense, but I feel as if one last execution is about to go down.
Yeah, I would say that Equinox, the focus hasn't necessarily been in the right areas, right? You kind of leave mid open and you not really put too much emphasis there. I mean, we've seen attempts from Equinox to get that mid control, like in that one round where the A site take completely failed, unfortunately, but that's because they tried to attempt, I think, too much pressure towards mid. They lost early control there, they lost players very early on, and things kind of just fell around them. This seems to be a little bit different. They're putting a lot of emphasis towards the mid position. Jonah P, he recognizes this. He's not going to take the early peek. You do see Complexity getting a lot of info down towards A. They see nothing. Again, they'll be playing retake. That's the theme, at least for Complexity's defenses. We don't need to worry about the A site. We've got the retake ability. We've got what we need to take the site. Now, Mina, Recon Bolt goes in, and he's going to hide in the smoke. He goes for the spray, but Jonah P does recognize that AGM, with a lovely dink, will finish off Mina, and things are getting really awkward here for Equinox. Again, that A site retake is allowing Complexity to stack players in this position where they understand Equinox are fighting for control.
Well, that's a big reaction. You see the Recon bolts, and you don't exactly want to get pinged by it. You put up a smoke and that completely blocks it off. But even then, just the speed of it ended up giving away his position. So Complexity, almost literally a gimme over towards mid, but they haven't made too much noise over an A, so this time Complexity actually has a couple of players in those back lines. But once again, Equinox has full control. 4 players on site. Even a little bit of a teleport for XP3 back over towards Long. He is now stuck into a 1v1 with DXN, and he wins it out still. 3 players remaining. 1 person on site. Q Fat Boy does get one back, but that dash right in the middle of the smoke. Tex, Pancakes, all snatching frags. Now in we go. No, it's just pure chaos. AGM has to try his hardest to really just be the solo player, and simply can't get it done. Jonah P now 1v2. Needs at least some piece of information. 28 HP. A gust of wind will do it to him. And there's the Tex that we know and love. 3k for him on the round. As again, he was just purely reactionary, being the pivot on site, taking on those interactions as Complexities started to spill their way onto sites. And not only that, but just a good head on his shoulders, keeping it swiveled. And Equinox, they found their way back. It's tied up 6-6, Sully.
Yeah, that is as close as we can get in a half. I mean, we trade 5 rounds essentially in a row, I would say, at least from the side of Equinox, and then 5 back for Complexity. So again, as close as you can get it. Complexity look really good on the defense. Now here on the attack is possibly where things can change. Equinox running that Cypher, it does at least give me the feeling that they're going to be very aggressive. Cute Fappa will be vying for a lot of control here on that A site. And Complexity, I mentioned in the pregame that we haven't seen them play too much of Haven, right? It's been some time since they've played in an event, but clearly the time off has given them so much room to work, or a lot of time to work on their mistakes, and they've perfected it. They looked amazing on the defense. Now here on the attack, again, this is where things can get interesting. Equinox, a little bit of control fought for by Cute Fat Boy with an early cam drop towards a long. He'll get a lot of info if anyone crosses. So this allows, again, kind of the same dynamic the Complexity had, where they can stack players more or less to mid into the C site with all this info. But Cute Fat Boy is in for a nasty surprise as 2 players, 3 now with AGM, are slowly but surely starting to creep their way up A long now.
This is a good attention. This is good attention from Jonah P, at least. Early Owl Drone. No noise over towards the A site, and that's essentially what they wanted. The solo player on A has already backed down and has readjusted, walks right into the smoke heaven, and this is all theirs. I mean, it feels like deja vu. The roles have reversed here, Sully.
Spike down as well. Complexity have so much time to back away for this retake, and those shock darts, they will force at least Ohai out of position, but they don't take the swing with the smoke drop by Sharky. So great coordination from Complexity. But Equinox, all 5 players grouped up. This is where things can get a little bit spicy now.
Ohai, great position, just taking away least information over towards Sharky, but Q Fat Boy Tex. Pancakes all getting frags. Jonah P, this is a big position for him, but he just needs the information to actually execute onto it. XP3 tries to be the hero, but all too much information over towards that angle. Equinox, they were almost certain that they would be split up between short and long, and indeed they got the gamble right. Equinox, they get the round back off of actually a really good post plant.
Yeah, I mean, they kind of just run and gun. I hate to put it in that fashion, but they get very aggressive, right? They kind of flush Complexity out of their positions. Paranoia from Pancakes in the back. I mean, they look good, right? You see that shot from Cute Fat Boy, the jumping classic. They say they nerfed it, but I beg to differ. I beg to differ. But regardless, Equinox, yeah, that aggression is what they needed. Complexity completely forced out of the site, and I think it's due in part to those shock darts that were thrown very early by DXN to force Ohai out of position and have them commit to these early fights. Now, Complexity, Gus, they've gone for a full buy again to try and compete against Equinox here.
It's more of a force more than anything. And Complexity, wow.
Oh.
They actually opened things up with a banger. Jonah P and Sharky both getting frags in different parts of the map. The other one going down in shorts. But more importantly, good trades back. Things are equalized out of essentially nowhere, but see site that has been rarely targeted really by both teams thus far is actually about to get opened up with nobody in a fast rotation spot towards this site. With Spike going down and Complexity not exactly in the best of positions in terms of util, they're gonna have to depend on trying to hold back these back points.
Yeah, you need Tex really to come alive here. He's got a double flash, and he'll have to take the early fight, but he doesn't go for the flash. He doesn't expect it either. Tex with his back turned. Huge frag, as now they've got control out towards long, and like you said, they can play around this long position. DXN, he's tagged down low. They're both tagged down low, and Jonah P's looking to finish off the job. He finds a tag on the first and might get the second. Jonah P with 4, and Equinox are tied up here 7-7 on a full buy or force buy here from Complexity.
You gotta be kidding me, Jonah P. I mean, it's just one of those situations, right, where you see a Hunter's Fury, you see it getting planted on C, you more or less know what's about to go down, waiting for the spike to get defused. Then you end up pulling out the Hunter's Fury and just going right through a wall. No, Jonah P said screw that entire stereotype in general. He wanted to fight it immediately. Both of those players were lit because of that interaction in the back of sights. And just like that, Complexity, they opened things up in this round. Not only just the round, but in this game in general. As Equinox, they're up against the ropes.
This is a very tricky position to be in as well if you're Equinox now, because this is what it feels like to be a guaranteed lead. But as a wise man once said, never speak in absolute. So who knows? Maybe Equinox Tex wants to pop off with his Reyna Sheriff. Who knows? Oh, hi. Creeping around the garage. Complexity taking things slow. Seems to be a theme here in anti-ecos is let's play slow. We don't want to give any frags up because both these teams have immense respect. I mean, you got to understand the firepower on Equinox. I mean, anything can happen with these pistols. So Complexity, full respect. They're taking things slow, trying to feel out the map. Because every corner could equal a death here in Tex. He does have a nice angle as they will walk into the site. But can this Sheriff sing? 45 seconds left now as Complexity, they look to set their sights here on B. Early recon bolts. Pancakes try and delay, but smoke's down. Tex won't be able to get anything, and it's a slight ding for Pancakes. But Tex, I don't think there's much he can do here. He'll have to wait for his team. If not that, he'll be going down first. So Complexity with a spike down. It's all about minimizing the damage as they keep, so far, 5 players alive.
One enemy remaining.
Yeah, just 1 player remaining. I mean, it's tried and true, like I mentioned before, with Haven, as the B site is more or less just a hot spot for defenders. I mean, it's literally the central point of the map. It's the easiest spot for you to be able to easily rotate between the 2 sites. So you saw 2 players from Complexity sitting around those areas. You saw 1 in B, you saw 1 over towards Garage, really trying to stay around that backside of it, and really ended up working out in their favor because by the time that Equinox actually made their slow push over towards site, you already had the first 2 contacts. So really Equinox getting a little bit out of their element, not having the smokes, not having the right util in a sense to cover up those back lines, and that ended up not even giving them the full opportunity to get control of site. So now instead, Complexity, they find themselves in a position where they might be at a disadvantage with the guns, but they're not stopping at all. The run it back has to get ran all the way back to long, but it's enough to make space. AGM on the front line takes down Tex, but even then, Cute Fat Boy and Pancakes with a rotation back. That's 3 frags in between the 2 of them. Jonah P with another one. Now it's a 3v2. Cute Fat Boy still waiting. Jonah P, welcome back to the frag show. 3 kills for Jonah P. He holds down the rotation from Equinox essentially on his own, and he has the insurance looking into Garage. I mean, that's just massive.
This guy, Jonah P, has been the X factor for Complexity. He has been the star in Complexity this game. 24-7 as a Sova. When things are getting dicey, he comes out of nowhere. And like you said, out of nowhere, welcome back to the frag show. Jonah P with a 3K in that round, pulls Complexity out of a sticky situation and puts them on top of the podium for the round. And when Equinox, it's an issue that has been plaguing them all series long, and there's no answer for it. There's no cure. Jonah P is everywhere, and there's nothing you can do about it currently for Equinox.
Well, not at all. I mean, they put everything into that round. They had to. It was their opportunity to really take the score back into their favor, Sully.
There's everything on the line. Alarm bot here to prevent Tex from getting aggressive. AGM scrapes through with the victory in that aim duel. Now Equinox down a man again. In Complexity, we always talk about the theme of these anti-ecos is play slow. You know, try and feel out the map. Ensure that you don't give up any early frags. And then from the opening stages, don't get taken down by a random Sheriff from Tex. But Spike should be able to go down here freely as Sharky looks to create a lot of space. Pancakes, though, looking for something on the Sheriff. Only good for one. Sharky with that space in the back will prevent anyone from swinging out from defender spawn. Shock darts to try and delay the spike, but in the 2 versus 4, the odds are going to be very, very heavily stacked against Equinox in this position.
Spike planted.
Yeah. It was a decent setup in that back line too. I would have liked to seen Pancakes a little bit better of an angle in a sense, because Sharky was only able to get that back line kill purely because Pancakes didn't have line of sight of it. So it's going to be small micro interactions like that, which we're definitely not going to see in the rifle rounds, especially with players getting a little bit more aggressive than usual. But it's small things like that that Equinox, they wish they could have back. That was a second opportunity to potentially get some economy back onto Complexity, but can't focus too much on one small mistake. It is just Complexity against an Eco, which we can't look too deep into. This next one is going to be a lot bigger because we finally get an operator sighting.
Yeah, Mina finally on the operator. He has definitely not had the best of games, and I think his operator impact has been even less. He's only been able to hold it 1 or 2 times, and those were on the attack. But now in the defense, this is, I would definitely call an operator's paradise. I mean, you could do so much here, right? A lot of early peaks. This operator can be game-changing. If Mina can get an early frag here, he's got a possible 2 players contesting in the form of Sharky and Ohai. If he can find one of them, that could be big. But we do appear to have a pause. I think Equinox have elected to take a small break, right? Kind of sort things out. It's getting to a very intense point in the game where Equinox are kind of down and out of the dumps, right? 4 rounds in a row. Eco rounds haven't worked. Their full buys against Complexity's full buys haven't worked either. So they're in a sticky position at the moment.
Here.
No, absolutely, they are. I mean, all of the potential that they had coming into the second half was essentially seeped away before the first half was done for. I mean, if I'm not mistaken, Complexity ended up winning 4 to 5 rounds directly in a row, right when Equinox was starting to get more confidence in terms of just pushing sites and really just trying to go for the individual fights. So Complexity just taking full advantage of that, really just trying to think more tactically in a sense, especially when we saw more retakes. This map has been, it's been weird in terms of what has been the dynamic between these 2 teams. It almost seems like 2 polar opposites. But now Equinox, they're starting to think more like Complexity in that first half. They want to think more strategically, more tactically, more safe in a sense. They want to stay towards those back lines, and they want to focus on the first interactions, and that one is massive because Mina just got a collateral.
Not the second frag, but Jonah P, like you said, the collateral severely low, and well, Mina's going to finish off the job. There's one way to at least announce your name with this operator. But again, Complexity, they didn't give too much an investment, and now with at least sewers controlled, they could maybe sell a fake, drop a lockdown if they want to, at least for AGM, but it doesn't look like they're going to make that risk. He is going to try and sell a fake, and it is drawing text away, but on the flip side, DXN just around the corner, if this B hit does come in, AGM, it really does all kind of pivot on him. He's got to be good enough to sell this fake, but as smokes go down here on the B site, it's all given up, and now it's just down to 2. Sharky trying to protect the planner as Tex gets aggressive, but Sharky, where did that come from? Spike cannot go down, however. There's just going to be enough time. Pancakes is trying to deny it, but Spike, it won't go down. Last second denial. Sharky with 3. Sharky can't win the round. 10 to 8 in Equinox. It's a last second save by Pancakes.
What? Now that's what you like to see. Equinox, they've been fighting up at least the first interactions over towards site each and every time. This time, however, you had such a huge opportunity for DXN to get a kill onto Sharky. That would have opened up the round. That to me would have been more or less the nail in the coffin, purely because of how dedicated Complexity actually was over towards the B site. But instead, Sharky, big frag, and Pancakes? Come on! Shutting down the spike within milliseconds of the round ending. Now, folks, we have a ball game. Equinox now trying to run away from what would be the first interaction, but again, Mina 2 rounds in a row, and this time it's worthwhile. A collateral with 2 kills attached to it. Complexity down to 3.
2 birds, 1 stone. Mina's got it. I said he hasn't had the best of games, but now with the op in his hand, he's reignited Equinox's fire. They've got 3 kills to show for it, and it only costed a couple of engagements. Mina does miss the 3rd shot, but Tex just around the corner always has that backup plan. Jonah P, a 1v5, has at least removed 1 of the 5. down to 4, can get Tex to make it 3, and there's another low HP player. You never count this man out. He's had a stellar game so far, and he's looking to add to the collection of stars of complexity.
Well, apparently not. With X-Ray being off, you know that something's about to go down, right? Jonah P. Waiting up for what might be a peek over towards A main, but nothing of the sort. Wow. Mina. Sharp on that operator. I mean, Equinox has not had an op really all game. But when you put it in the hands of this Jet op, boy, it gets dangerous. And again, Mina was in all sorts of trouble. Same thing with Arena. But just like that, things get opened up. That's massive.
P, this is such a tricky position to be in. I always feel so bad when you're left in a 1v3 and you've got no information. I love as well how the X-ray goes off, so we feel like we're in the shoes of Jonah P. The clutch is there, and I felt for Jonah P. You've got no idea what's going on. However, complexity, they're changing up the pace. AGM will set down the lockdown. They were vying for early
with a teleport.
sewer control. Yeah, XB3 now in the heavens. I didn't even notice that, but we're on his POV. He is going to try and control this, but he's trying to drop some smokes. This gets a little bit dicey, however. Thankfully, the barrier will keep him back, but they are going to swing, but they get detained. XB3.
No.
Jailbreak, and he's out of there. 4 versus 5, as Sharky cuts off a flank.
I mean, that's just highway robbery. Poorly timed coming in from DXN, but I mean, even then, still complexity. They have the man advantage. XB3 takes one back, but DXN finally gets the kill back onto XB3, but now without the trade, now it's a 3v3. DXN still in the front lines over towards A main. You still have Sharky looking on in heaven. Could be able to get this frag, and indeed it does. Good spray down. But DXN, he was in lockdown a little bit earlier on, but he comes back, but oh hi! I mean, he's saying oh hi to the players that just came out. They had no idea he was there. Pops out from the corner, and he gets the 2 for complexity. 11th round for the boys. And Equinox, I mean, I don't know about you, Sully. Going into this game, I would consider this an upset if it happens.
I mean, it's the map pick, at least, of complexity. That's one of the few things we can say for Equinox. But oh hi, oh my goodness, comes out of nowhere to strike from a smoke, essentially. They did not expect this, and they lined up perfectly for the man. Oh hi puts them down. 11-9 complexity. A lead they've amassed, and possibly a 12th here. All they need is a few more rounds. Ohai's even got the ult orb for the run it back, so he's charged up, he's fired up and ready to go. But Equinox, Gus, they've been holding on to 4 ults. The Hunter Sphere can be massive to help them win this round. But Complexity have been playing smart. They're very wary to the fact there is a Hunter Sphere, and are trying to play around it and maybe possibly bait it out. Whereas Equinox in this round does at least feel like they are trying to get a little more aggressive, right? With Mina going down towards long, get as much info as possible, but they run it back just to try and sell the fake. Ohai's looking for info, and he's got plenty of it in the form of that there's nobody here on B so far.
But even then, Equinox hears all of that. So instead now, they just wait up for that run it back to go down, and they can immediately fight. What is going on? Pancakes! Sharky somehow gets the kill back! But I mean, I don't know if it counts, but 3 rounds in a row we get a Colette. I mean, not in a row, but 3 out of the last 4. Are you kidding me? The Hunter's Fury this time executes. Sharky thought it was safe. No, sir. Tex gets it off the crossfire. Jonah P 1v4. 25 seconds left. I mean, there's just no way. Jonah P has been an absolute monster thus far this game, but it's done and dusted. He needs the Vandal going into the next round. And we talked about the ultis. I mean, they were efficient, but it was only one use, Sully. And it just so happened to be the one to really give Equinox everything that they needed.
Oh, man. I think Complexity have a thing for lining up for Equinox. First, a collateral tag from Mina that warrants 1 kill. Then a collateral in the next round. Thankfully, we get a little break from Colets. And then a 1 shot off of the Hunter. Technically 2, right? The first one was to tag them, but the second one finished off 2. I mean, I said there was going to be a Hunter Screen, but I didn't think in that capacity. Now, Equinox, they bring it within 1, and now Complexity. I think Jonah P staying alive is actually going to be a little bit of a detriment to their economy, right? He's only going to get 1k credit, so he's now going to put in a weird financial position where he's going to have to full buy, and the rest of his team, they'll have leftover credits. The economy for Complexity, just off of 1 round, is going to suffer immensely, and Equinox, here's their confidence back. Just 1 round is all it took.
It's a culmination of a whole lot of things. I mean, you could expect that Equinox, they had a little bit of a pep talk, especially after the 2v1 loss that they had to Ohai. I mean, they had that, right?
Yeah.
Could seep away their, I guess you could say their motivation or something of the sort, but it's just that dynamic of so close, but just a little bit too far. This time it's still that same opportunity, and oh, hi, there you go. No way he gets himself a third off of this one. No, XP3 takes it back. Double kill for oh, hi, but Equinox, although low on HP, they're still fighting towards that back line, but Complexity, essentially in a flash. They have themselves what might be a 12th round. Jonah P, that's well timed. That might hit just the right time, but I don't think it did. Still the defuse going down. No way. DXN so going in. Shot from XP3 too. That's a little bit of a miracle getting defused, but even then, Mina has no smoke. Can't help this out. Instead, it is going to be XP3. So weird at the end.
Yeah.
It was close, but Equinox, they couldn't pull off the cheese that they needed in a sense, with only a singular smoke really covering up that defuse. But Complexity, this is the story. 12 rounds already in, looking for the 13th to get themselves an advantage going into the second map of Ascent.
All right, a little unfortunate as well. You know, the jet nerf on her smoke. So Mina had to kind of spam those down. So like, yes, that plays a slight factor, but then again, Complexity, they end up just spamming through it, so it didn't really matter too much. Now, Complexity, here's map point here on Haven, the first map of a best of 3 in Equinox. This was one they should have been poised to take after the performances that they put up in the last 3 events they've played. 3 third-place finishes in a row. You don't want to come behind in this one, at least. Tex playing behind the box of B. Won't be spotted out by the Owl Drone. He does actually need to destroy it, so never mind. They do know where he is. But Cam, oh hi, does he cross and will he get spotted? Instead, they're going to invest in Owl Drone, so they've got the info. But so far, to their knowledge, at least Equinox, it's only one player that they've spotted. And on the other side, Mina's gotten aggressive, so they can feel the hit coming on in. They see the players in Garage. Smokes drop to allow these players to cross, and Jonah P needs to win this fight, but Tex is watching this angle. I think it comes down to this duel here. If they can control Garage, they can have full control of this round, but instead they back away and leave Jonah P just to lurk. But again, Mina knows everything, has all the info in the world, and Equinox, they're prepared for the C site taken to try and deny Complexity map 1 in this round.
So the camera up, not exactly going to spot anything, but I actually saw a couple of players on there. But oh man, Jonah P, that's massive. That's going to shut down at least one of the rotations, but there's still 2 in the back of sight. DXN looking for 1, going to be able to find Sharky. Still 3 on site. This could be the time for DXN to shine, but oh hi, the 1-2 combo again. This man is just filled with doubles. And I mean,
Joke's over.
Equinox, they might be having a little bit of double vision. So many players for Complexity over towards those back lines, and they just can't escape. Pancakes, I don't know what the teleport was, but he goes all the way back towards B. Almost a little bit of a flank in a sense, but now Mina, 1v4, make it a 1v3. These players from Complexity, they're all hidden, and they all swing out at the same time. Complexity, they dodge what would be Equinox's massive start, and it's 13-10. They take map 1.
Huge surprise from Complexity. Coming out of the gate, they didn't look too good, and then those 5 rounds in a row on the defense, they look spectacular. I mean, Complexity, I feel like I criticized them too much in the pregame about the lack of events and maybe how they're not going to be as prepared as Equinox, but Gus, they proved us completely wrong. They look stunning on the defense and on the attack. Everything looks so well coordinated. So Complexity, huge props to them. And Equinox, well, they go down a map on at least Complexity's map pick. Up next is Ascent, and that's maybe where things can turn around here.
I mean, statistically speaking, Complexity might be a little bit weaker on Ascent, and I mean, throw stats away at this point. What am I saying? I mean, it's almost ironic, right? I said going into this one, oh, Haven's not exactly the best map for Complexity, and it was one of the best for Equinox. Not anymore. 13-10 victory, and that's really what opened things up in terms of the storyline in a sense. But ladies and gentlemen, there's a whole lot of other games going on at the moment, and I'm glad that you guys are here watching the main stream because this one is starting to heat up. Of course, we're going to be going into a little bit of a break as we prepare for Ascent. Wanted to thank you guys very much for watching, and we'll be back in just a couple of moments.
What sound experience would you like today?
I'll have the fantasy pack.
Good choice.
And could you make it a Cloud 2 wireless?
On his way, sir.
Sounds amazing!
I feel like I need to defend my scene's honor here because this is just turning into a bit of a dogpile.
Like in groups always look.
I'm cutting you off here. I'm cutting you off. Cutting you off. He said G2's winning it. He said G2's winning it.
We need to wait till the next EU tournament, which could be in about 10 years now.
Take it with like a grain of salt.
No,
but
that's
that
no
being
fun.
said,
Take it super literally.
Spike defused.